Hey, I want to take a few minutes today to talk about grief. Now, grief is the natural response to loss, particularly if we lose someone that is close to us or something that we hold very dear. Often use the terms grief and bereavement. Now, bereavement refers to the state of loss, but grief is the reaction to that loss. And we all grieve at one time or the other over something or someone. Now, there are commonly 5 stages of grief that people go through. Now, these stages, some people will stay in one stage longer than the other. There's no set time frame on this, but these are cycles, steps that you must take to deal with your grief. And the first one, of course, is denial. When something bad happens, we want to deny that it happened. Someone gets a terminal diagnosis. Many people deny that they have it. When someone finds out they're dying or a loved one they know that's dying, they think, well, they just can't happen. We want to deny because we don't want to accept the reality. And this denial leads to anger. When we finally realize that this is happening or this has happened to us, we get very angry. We get angry at ourselves. Sometimes if someone else is sick or someone else has died, there's an anger toward them. How could you do this to me? Why are you doing this? It's a natural response because we want we're looking for something to figure out, make sense of what we're experiencing. And this anger oftentimes leads to bargaining. God, if you would heal me, I would do this. God, if only you would take this away or make this happen, I would do this to you. We find ourselves trying to bargain with God. And this bargaining, the next step can lead to depression. Depression of, I can't go on. The feeling of, there's no way I can dig myself out of this pit. I will never be able to get past or to accept what's going on. And then the last step is acceptance. We finally realize what's happened. We finally understand, we may not understand it. We finally accept that it's happened and we can't change it. You know, this grief can come upon us for many different reasons. Now, we think of grief, we think of losing a loved one, losing a child, this grieving process that we go through. And if it's not taken care of, our grief can cause us physical problems and even mental problems. It can affect our families and our relationships with other people. And so this grief is very important. Grief is something that we all deal with. But also grief may occur at the end of a romantic relationship. Say you break up with someone or you end up getting divorced. There's a grieving period there as well. Sometimes people lose their jobs. There's a time they go through the grieving process, especially if that's the only job they've ever had and this job has provided a living for them and for their family. And to lose that job suddenly can cause us to grieve. People lose a pet. They're very upset about that. There's a grieving process. Some people lose their home to fire or foreclosure or something like that. Maybe your child leaves a home. You have what's called empty nest syndrome. There's a grieving process that goes on there. Maybe your sibling leaves home, the same one you used to fight with, that you couldn't stand to be in the same room with. Maybe they left for the military or for college or marriage or something like that. And there's a grieving process there. And so we have to understand that grieving is very real. And when you lose a loved one, you never really get over that. Especially if you lose a child. You never really get over that. But you learn to build your life on that. That becomes your new normal. You'll never forget it. There may be still some pain and sadness involved, but you will find out that you can go forward. You can get over this. And we often find people when they're grieving, they often turn to Jesus. Even non-religious people will call out. Why is it that the natural reaction for so many people is to turn to Jesus? It's because he understands. Bad things were said about him. He grieved. He lost loved ones. He grieved. Terrible things were done to him. He grieved. But yet he never sinned. Peter tells us in 1 Peter chapter 2, 23, when he was reviled, the Bible says he reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not. He threatened not. He committed himself to him that judges righteously. So Jesus does understand. And you're not alone in this. And as we look in the next series of videos, you'll find out that talking about this and surrounding yourself with other people is the key to dealing with the loss. So I want to encourage you that you're not alone. Jesus cares, and he understands what you're going through more than you realize. Trust in him.